Hello and welcome back to Gnoll Way Home. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, has been a while ago. I believe the protagonist found himself in the body of a gnoll, which, as you may or may not know, is like a big hyena, but not exactly. And apparently this body belonged to someone that was expiring, which means that they were dying. It didn't sit well with the people that knew him. Some of them think that he is a demon. Others are just like, well, this is weird. Anyways, so they are setting off to a city or a settlement, I guess, which I'm assuming is gonna have more gnolls. For what reason, I forget, because it has been a really long time. So yeah, that's where we're gonna be picking up. What else? What am I forgetting? What happened? There was a little short one. I think their name was Tav, who was the most peeved about the protagonist being in their friend's body. They have shackled them, sort of like in the way that you would in Inuyasha, where Kagome puts like little beads on him, and then like, she has to say like "sit boy," and he has to like sit. Well, he gets shoved down to the ground. With this one, it sort of restrains him and shocks him, but I guess it acts more like a leash. There is an older gnoll who's, I hesitate to call him like a sage type of person, but like he kind of gives off those vibes. He's the one that seems to be more, or he is one of the one that seems to be more at ease with this quote-unquote demon person being around them. And there's another one of ambiguous gender. I think their name was Tiny, or something like that. They seem to have expected a little bit more from a demon, but like, what can you do? Anyway, so yeah, without further ado, let us continue Gnoll Way Home. Chapter 2. Leftovers and Soup. Down here closer, I start to hear the sounds of the village. The scents along this trail become more tangible too. Other gnolls, lots of them. They're going to hate me, and every bit of that will be justified. I can't take back what I've done. Stinky's ears perk from a deep sigh. I fail to mask. Hey, things are gonna turn out fine. All I can offer in thanks for his reassurance is a muted grunt. And if anyone tries to pick a fight with you, they'll have to go through me. Oh, come on. Serious. You don't need to protect me. Well, I don't see your dead weight technique winning any fights. I rebuke him with a glower, but it just makes him grin even wider. Fine, I'll be counting on you if there's any trouble. Atta boy. There is a palpable tension in the air when we set foot in the village. While the others are torn away by various greetings and embraces, I'm left adrift in a sea of narrowed eyes and a wave of whispers. All that scrutiny, all the mistrust, it's writ plain as day on their faces, and it twists the knife of trepidation that's been stuck in my side this entire journey. They all already know who I am. They know what I am. They kept their distance at first, watching, waiting. Then a shrill battle cry sounds out, and the children arrive. Not the children. There has to be a dozen of them. No, 100. That's a more respectable number to get beaten by. The first introduces himself to me with a running kick to the dick. I crumble instantly, which the others take as a sign of encouragement. In seconds, they're upon me, every inch of my body kicked, slapped, and spat upon. They strip the flesh from my bones, desecrate my remains, and call me expletives most unmerciful until nothing is left. A fitting end. I will not be missed. Then one of them chomps down hard on my tail, reminding me that this massive body of mine does in fact still exist, mostly unscathed. but the slings and barbs still hurt, on the inside. Oi, brats! The beating cease. Moral improves. This here's my minion. I defeated him first, laid him low in a single blow. Technically correct. An impressed collective of murmurs rise from my pint-sized assailants. Go ahead, minion. Show them who you belong to. Bark like a dog. What? The armistice wavers. The children look to me expectingly. He's really going to make me do this. Bark. Gonna need more than that, minion. I take a deep breath. There is no salvaging this. I raise my hands in a mock of a dog's floppy ears. Woof woof, bark bark, woof woof woof, bark bark, woof woof woof, woof woof woof, bark, bark, bark. The children are smitten, cackling and howling in delight at the funny clown man debasing himself for their amusement. I can't believe I got you to do that. In front of so many people. I'm dying. I'm dead. Send flowers. Stinky's own collapse makes him the new target for the miniature miscreants to climb and gnaw at. Though at least he's able to return fire and roughhouse them right back. Humiliating as it was, that tactic seems to have worked. Many of the children have begun to disperse, some of them teasing one another with mocking impressions of my bombastic ass foolery. Even the adults in the area seem to have dismissed any notions that I might be a threat, their expressions looking more relieved after that idiotic indulgence. Glancing around, I notice many of them have swarmed Tav, much as their children did me. Though instead of beating the dignity from him, they're clamoring for the letters he carries. He looks overwhelmed, but fights through it, managing to raise his voice above the din of the crowd to call out for the proper recipients. Soon he's relieved from duty by another gnoll that claims to be a speaker, ducking through the crowd to catch back up with me. Can I click that? Speaker. The Shattertusk term for those capable of reading the Imperial script. There's only a handful capable of this throughout the entire village. Supposedly, there are many other scripts in the Imperial archives, but theirs is the only one that's taught openly. This little man can fit so many letters in him. Don't forget, you're the one who taught me. Okay. Stinky finds somewhere comfy for Upa to rest and waves for us to continue on without him, while he distracts the remaining kids with a game of Snapdragon. Snapdragon, a species of serpent-like moving plants that infest the wombwood. Though their jagged maws appear dangerous, they can do little more than bite and swallow vermin-sized prey. Thankfully, they are not fully ambulatory, though particularly long ones can wrap around one and between the branches of trees. Each is still bound by their base and dies if uprooted. They don't possess eyes or ears, but instead sense motion through heat and vibration. The botanical beasts often misidentify travelers as prey and share them for a nasty tumble. Oh, snare, I mean. Wonder what else the Maw do. The local Shattertusk gnolls also seem to have some sort of sport named after the creature, but every time I investigate it, the rules are completely different. The meta is changing at an alarming rate. It mostly seems to involve moving his arms around like a snake and snapping his hand out to tickle the little buggers, but I guess they've made some sort of game out of it. Come on, before it gets dark. Moving through the town, I'm surprised at just how many shapes and sizes of gnolls there are. Tall, skinny, short, bulky, and everything in between, though it seems like Tav and I are at about the far end of the adult height range. Every now and then, I even spot one or two with rather strange, unsettling physical characteristics. Wombwood refugees, don't gawk. But I thought the Wombwood didn't affect gnolls. Anything or anyone that's born there comes out different, even gnolls. We're just the only ones that can safely traverse it. Other people end up, well, they usually don't stay people for long. Glad I never had to go back there. As we continue our trek, I notice a wide variety of dress on display as well, in a plethora of different styles. as well as more casual nudity than Tav seems comfortable with. He hurriedly takes me by the paw as we navigate through the crowded village streets. Even though there's only a few dozen buildings total, it seems like there's considerably more gnolls than that living here. The overall atmosphere seems lively, with plenty of open chatter throughout the streets. From what little I can manage to pick up as we pass through, it seems a lot of it is about me. My ears swivel a few times as I hear people mention that I could use some soup. Soup does sound really good right about now. I ran out of bonus fruits hours ago. Rest sounds pretty good too. It's been a long travel day. And Tav made that journey twice today. He pauses as we reach one of the larger buildings on the far end of town, scrutinizing the drapes drawn over its entrance before relinquishing a soft sigh. Matron's busy. We'll have to wait. He leans back against the side of the hut and slides down, exhaling a deep sigh as he finally lets himself rest for the first time today. I move to sit alongside him, but have to pause first to set down those wicker baskets he'd laden me with. I'd forgotten all about them. So, the matron... guess she's the one in charge around here? Sort of. We don't have a traditional matron like the other tribes. So that's a normal thing for tribes to have? A matron in charge? Some of them, mostly the ones in and around the Wombwood. The others were led by warlords instead, but I don't think that there's any of them left anymore. The Empire saw to that. I quickly try to push the conversation forward, stumbling a bit. So, what makes this matron so special? In the awkward silence that follows, I realize that probably sounds a little more cynical than I intended. I mean, not to say that she isn't. He huffs a beleaguered sigh. I'm just making things worse again, aren't I? I know it must be irritating to have to field so many basic questions, but I'm pretty much adrift here. It's a long story. I gesture to the occupied building. I think we've got time. He glowers, but soon leans his head back in defeat, acquiescing. The Imperials wiped out most of the tribes during the Grand Crusade. Not just the gnolls, pretty much everyone that wouldn't bend the knee to them. Sounds pretty typical for an empire. I guess. They want everyone to be good little workers, loyal Imperial dogs. And whoever they can't convert, they kill. Brutal. And yet that's what they call us. I look around thinking back to all the gnolls that I've met so far. Calling them brutal is a bit far-fetched. Kind old Opa. Energetic but well-meaning Stinky. Okay, maybe the kids earned that descriptor. But even with everything Tav's going through, brutal might be the last word that I'd use to describe him. So they either tame the savages or break them? According to them, yeah. But even when you break a tribe, there's still pieces left over. He scans his head around, observing the village as it stands now, so full of life. And this is where they end up, gnolls with no tribe left. Well, they seem to be doing alright now. Tav shrugs. They deserve better than this. Back in the Empire, there was just so much. Everything. Everything? Food, books, homes, everything. But not for everyone. If the Empire favored you, you'd live in the lap of luxury. And if they scorned you, you slept in the gutters. The part that we grew up in was the worst of the worst. Trash in the streets, tar in the water, smog in the air, plagues in the people, even the houses got sick. They said that it was right where us gnolls belonged. He pauses, surveying again and sighing. This is better than that at least, but the spoils that the Empire's favored enjoy. It's wasted on them. I start to get a pretty good idea of why Tav and Gash left the city. But it doesn't seem that life outside of it is everything that he wanted it to be. And the Empire's probably not likely to change, is it? No, you're pretty good at stamping out dissidents or turning them against one another. It's easy to get folks to agree on what's wrong, Way harder to get them to agree on what's right. That's what Wrath used to say. He's the only one that made any progress. Who's that? The big damn hero that stood up to the Empire until he gave up. He led a rebellion, several actually, I think. They freed a bunch of indentured servants. The Empire doesn't like it when you call them slaves. But it didn't amount to much in the end. No matter how hard they fought, the Empire's just too big. Anywhere they liberated just ended up with a target on its back. At some point, the people didn't even want to be saved anymore. So what happened? Why'd he give up? He got old and sad, decided that he was done fighting, helped fund the village here, brought together all the broken pieces that were left over. Oh, I guess that's why it's called Shattertusk? Yeah, the old warlords took pride in their tusks, the bigger the better. Said that those made them good leaders, strong and virile. The smaller gnoll prods at one of his own rather scrawny endowments. Didn't do them much good when the Crusade swept through. The Grand Crusade, the Empire's term for their quest to forcibly bring all other cultures they encounter under their rule. After their conquest of nearly all nearby tribes over the past few generations, they now turn their gaze seaward to see if they can expand beyond the continent. Dopes in a boat. So, I mean, it looks pretty diverse, but it looks like the Empire is mainly canine. I reach up to feel over one of the oversized tusks jutting from my own muzzle. Virile, huh? Just superstition. They don't really mean anything. I stifle a cackle as a pair of satisfied-looking gnolls emerge from the hut. My nose immediately picks up quite a bit of a sweat and musk radiating from them. As the two depart, playfully chattering under their breath and nudging at one another, I notice Tav rise and head in. I follow quickly behind after I gather up the baskets, already getting used to staying within the leash's domain. The interior of the matron's hut is more spacious than I expected. The first thing that catches my eye is a truly massive shank of meat that lies upon a low table near the doorway. Behind it, I'm surprised to see a roaring fire lighting a stone hearth with a bubbling cauldron upon it. Is it finally time? For soup? An old woman, tall and gangly, hums softly to herself as she slices through the massive chunk of meat with effortless grace. The bone-carving knife in her paw splits the flesh with unnatural ease. I look to Tav to try and gauge etiquette here, but his ears perk as a curtain is drawn open on the other side of the abode. A gruff voice from behind it beckons to him. Tav motions for me to stay here, heading behind the curtain and leaving me alone with who I can only assume is the matron. I linger awkwardly, trying to peek behind the partition before she chuckles dryly. Her voice has a harsh quality to it, thickly accented in a melodic way that I've only heard a few times around town so far. This ain't the place for snooping around. Get your prying ears away, boy. I flinch, wheeling around to meet her gaze with paws instinctively raising to plead innocence. Her chuckling arises into a distinct, sharp cackle that sends a twinge of terror upon my spine. Come here, demon boy. Let Nika have a look at this one. Nika is the advocate of the Shattertusk tribe. She uses her familiarity with different religions to mediate between the disparate beliefs and cultural practices of the different tribes that have coalesced here. She's also a skilled Voker, favored by Broodmother, and is explicitly knowledgeable about the medicinal poultices. Don't ever ask her about the funny critter in her necklace. It ain't a sensitive topic, but she'll take it out and torment you with it, and it's super creepy. She keeps it as a reminder of why she was exiled from the Brood Witches. She says it helps her focus and make her a better vodka. It's gross. I feel my ears pinned back at her command, submitting and moving closer despite my nerves. Even though I'm bigger than her, there's something about her voice and presence that commands respect. Before I even realize that she's close enough to do so, She's got a paw grasping my chin, roughly thrusting it upwards to examine me. I freeze in place, terrified of that intense look in her eyes and the sadistic smirk that stretches across her muzzle. Seems to be working. It takes me a moment to realize that she's talking about the collar. Is she the one that made it? She lets my head droop back down, and I struggle to stand before her without quaking. Just remember, you take this off, your head go boom. I can't tell if that's her idea of a joke or not, but she sure does seem to be feasting on my fear at the prospect of a sudden head explosion. Never seen a demon shake like that before. You piss on my floor, you don't want cleaning it up. She punctuates that threat with a chiding wave of her index finger and a few accompanying clicks of the tongue. Calm yourself, boy. Nika ain't gonna hurt ya unless you give me reason to. I gulp, trying to steel my resolve. This one got a name? Emilio. I'm pretty sure that's the name that I picked in the first video. She makes a tour around me, examining and prodding at my body in a way that only makes me more tense. Looks about the same, this one. Smells the same too. At this distance, I can parse her smell as well without even needing to close my eyes. Her smell brings to mind poisonous plants, rot and death. There is a commanding malice to her scent that makes me quiver. It somehow reminds me of that place. Quit your sniffing around, boy, or I'll put that nose of yours in me cauldron. She brandishes that wicked-looking knife with a terrifying grin. Sorry, I didn't mean to, what are you making in there anyway? Soup? You really do know nothing, eh? Brewing poultices, but keep your greedy paws away from there. That'd be a special brew, matrons only. She sheathes that knife and pushes a bowl full of hairy roots towards me. Now make yourself useful and help Nika peel this ere death root while you wait. Gotta get through another batch of this before sundown. Somebody's gonna keep these people from falling apart. I hesitate before slowly navigating around the weird tubers and try to figure out how to peel them with just my claws. I'm certainly not gonna ask for her knife. Once my mind wanders to consider what she said, my claws start to move with more effortless motion. Wait, but I thought gnolls didn't get sick. Not like other folks, we don't. No food sick, no plague or poison. But there's still other ailments to deal with. Like what? Ghosts in your blood? A searing pain alights through my forehead as she flicks it with a sharpened claw. Like demons in your noggin, you daft hellspawn. Oh, ow, sorry. Broken bones and old age are happy to visit us too, don't you know? Maybe Nika breaks some of yours to get you familiar. That's not necessary. I'll be good. You betcha. You'll walk at razor's edge, demon boy. Tch. You just betcha hoped those two take mercy on ya. As she points to the curtain on the other side of the room, I realize that I haven't heard a peep since Tav went back there. Who's that back there with Tav? Oh, that's just my husband. They're probably deciding your fate back there as we speak. Oh. Well, how do you think that's gonna go? I trust my husband's judgment on that. He's the only man in this world to earn me respect. And you know why's that? Is... because he knows that he knows nothing. Too many full of a man in this world think that they know everything under the sun. But he questions everything, even his own self. The old tribes will see that as a weakness, a death knell for their leader. But I think otherwise. He's open to new ideas, to reconsidering who he is as a person, who we are as a people. This is not weakness. It is flexibility, adaptability, hell, maybe even wisdom. Speak of the devil, or demon. The curtain is pulled back and I hear Tav calling from the other side. Fine. Take a look at him yourself. After a brief pause, I realize that I'm being summoned. Go. Do not make me say it twice, boy. I hurry over, relieved to escape Nika's overwhelming presence. Beyond the curtain, I see the source of that gruff voice, back turned to me, polishing a hefty firearm with a wicked-looking blade mounted beneath its barrel. The older Gnoll turns, surprising me with the stark dictomony of appearance. Tav motions towards me with wild gesticulation as I arrive. Listen to me, Wrath. He is a demon. You're really just going to let him run free around the village? That gruff voice returns, tinged with a rustic drawl, as the older Gnoll responds. Yup. If he ain't a danger to nobody, then he's gonna put in his fair share of work around here. This is... your... Yeah. The tiny Gnoll makes a show of unraveling the leash from his wrist as far as it will go, and marches outside with a pronounced surge of frustration. I'm getting soup. After he does his best to dramatically close the curtain behind him on his way out, I realize that the drapes seem to immediately shut out all sound beyond it. A deep sigh from the Gnoll he was arguing with reminds me that I am left once more awkwardly sifting through the fallout of yet another Tav outburst. Boy's got a strong sense of justice. Reminds me of myself when I was younger. It's a darndest tough thing to grow out of. So you're... Wrath, matron of the Shattertusk tribe. Wrath is the founding and current matron of the Shattertusk tribe. He and his would-be revolutionaries have put aside their swords for plowshares. His good boy sure gets their share of plowing. Crude, but sort of true. He was known for retaining high troop morale through individual counseling and rewards for his followers. Imperial propaganda always painted him as a deviant for that. Nika says Ruth uses a sacred herb from the wombwood to make himself more matronly. Never seen him smoke that wombwood, though. It's called dire fennel, and it's hard to get it because it only grows in the wombwood. That's why he always asks if we found any when we traveled through there. I'ma stick to fatal leave. My eyes go wide at the realization, and I quickly bow my head in what I hope is a fairly universal display of reverence. Sorry, I didn't realize, sir. Ma'am? There's fine, kid. Ain't too picky these days. And I suppose I ain't exactly your typical matron anyhow, but we make do here. I'm put at ease a bit by how effortlessly he diffuses the tension in the air. I just, assumed Nika was in charge. Yeah, that's what I'd suggest too, originally. She had her fill of leadership already, though. Weren't no talking her into it. But she's a shrewd one. Already had a bargain in mind when she turned me down. Offered her aid as an advisor of sorts. And in return? My hand. In marriage, as it turns out. I figured that it was a 50-50 odds that she swept that flesh cleaver of hers through my wrist and keep my shooting hand as a trophy, truth be told. Flesh cleaver. A sacred ceremonial dagger used by the brood witches of the Wombwood for all sorts of gruesome rituals. Nika mostly uses it for lunchtime. While it is usable on inert meat, yes, it's more notable for its magical ability to effortlessly carve through still living flesh while instantly sealing any wounds it creates. Stories say that brood witches use it to keep their victims alive while slowly carving off pieces of them for ritual sacrifice. She threatened to end my family line with it if I touched it again. Well, don't play with magic knives then. But either price is more than fair for what she brings to the table. Oh, I didn't realize Gnolls did marriage. We don't, usually. The warlords used to keep harems, sure, but most Gnolls just take mates as they come. Sounds lonely. Never felt that way to me. Keeping your mate locked away like property, now that's lonely. So you're having second thoughts about it? No. It's a trivial sacrifice for the sake of the tribe. Besides, she may be a bit possessive, but she still lets me tend to me duties. Duties? Managing morale, whether it's soldiers or civilians. I've always felt a calling to keep spirits up. So that's the matron's role here? Well, it's the way that I've been doing things since way back when. But I've been learning new ways to soothe the spirit these days. With magic? With words. Sometimes touch ain't just enough. Wait, what? A bit of fraternization was enough to keep my good boys in line back in the day, but we face different problems nowadays. Different sorts of anxieties that need taking care of. So I listen. I hear their worries. I give them what comfort I can, offer advice if they want it, or just an ear to vent to. I guess when you've managed not to die as long as I have, you can't help but pick up some kind of wisdom. And if they need to blow off some steam too, well, if needs must. Oh. But, we ain't here to talk about me. We need to talk about you, kid. I tense up, remembering once more that my life is on the line here. Real shame, the way things played out. Gash was one of our only lifelines to the outside world, you know. That wasn't my... I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Well, what was it that you intended, if you don't mind me asking? I don't know. I didn't think things would turn out this way. You didn't think about the guy whose body you were jacking? I didn't even know that's what was happening. I just heard a voice calling to me. He pulled me here. The void call. What? That's how the stories usually go. The victim's anguish calls out to the void, and then demons come answering. They use that moment of desperation to infiltrate the body and seize control. He takes a long, deep look into my eyes, studying my obvious lack of comprehension. But could it be that you're just like rainwater filling a ditch? My gaze drifts downward. Maybe if I had resisted the call, Gash would still be here. He growls softly to himself and scratches at his mutton chops. You know, you could have made this a lot easier on me by just being a monster. He taps his gun to indicate what he does to monsters. But I'm not. Yeah, I don't see a monster here. I see a scared pup caught up in a mess beyond his reckoning. He moves to holster that rifle back on his back. But it's still my fault, isn't it? Hard to say, but from what Taps told me, you've been real cooperative ever since you got here. I mean, yeah, if I caused this, then it's my responsibility to fix it. And if it comes down to it, is that a higher priority than saving your own hide? I want to get Gash back, but I don't want to go back either. I want both. Both, huh? Now you're sounding greedy like a demon. Well, what's wrong with that? Honestly, that sounds more reasonable to me than the pietous martyr act Tav was accusing you of. He what? He's hurting something fierce, ain't seeing straight. But I'm willing to give you a shot. Really? Well, what does that entail? We'll call it a probationary period. You stay here with us until we can figure out how to fix this mess. You mean it? Really? I can stay? Quit that tail wagging pup. You look like an imperial dog. Stop it, tail. Now I ain't offering you a free ride. You're gonna work hard while you're here. Of course, I'll do everything that I can to bring Gash back. Well, for the time being, we ain't got no leads on that. But where we do have our houses that need building, fields that need tilling. He motions to the baskets that I once again forgot that I've been hauling all day. Mail that needs delivering. But I'll be watching you. We all will. If you're gonna be one of us, you need to be on your best damn behavior. We'll make a good boy out of you. My tail verges on whiplash. Now, let's get that damn collar off of you. He looks at the partition and heads over to tug it open. She didn't hear all that, did she? Nah. The shroud here makes it the perfect place to talk things out in confidence. Shroud of Silence, a privacy curtain the matron uses to guarantee confidentiality during personal counseling. It's been stitched together from the remnants of several enchanted cloaks Wrath used for scouting and reconnaissance during the revolts. In the matron's room, nobody can hear you. Complete. Oh God. Oh, thank whatever gods they have here. Wife, get in here. Psst, address me proper. Please. Love it when a man begs. Will you just get this damn thing off of him? You want it removed? Without killing him, yes. This was not in the specifications. What? You gotta be kidding. Broodwitch restraints ain't normally concerned with you being alive when they done with ya. Nika. I mean, if you want the collar back intact, I could take the head off with me flesh cleaver. Nika. Oh, here comes the existential dread again. I take some me time to sit down and cradle my knees as they hash things out. After being dismissed from the matron's hut, collar intact, I find my growing appetite managing to steal focus from the pall of despair that hangs above me. A few passing gnolls inquire if I'm headed for soup and motion for me to follow along. I need this. Following their lead, I soon find myself in a rather sizable congregation of gnolls bound for the larger cave mouth just outside of town. A wave of tantalizing soup smell passes through them, visible through their instinctive reactions as noses reflexively draw up into the wind to sample it. I don't realize how much I'm salivating until I notice the snickers of a few onlookers. How am I supposed to keep it all in with tusks this big? Getting closer, I see a few gnolls already headed back to the opposite way towards the village, laden with hearty earthen pots full of soup. But I'm not sure why it's being prepared in a cave. I've not long to consider that before an answer makes itself apparent. Inside the cave, dozens of rocks pooling bubble with water cast in golden glow by the setting sun. As steam rises from them, I spot bits of fragrant vegetation and hunks of unidentifiable meat slowly softening in their embrace. A group of gnolls work to stir in the new ingredients while directing us poor hungry souls to which pools are ready. At last, I've made it. I'm at soup. I can't wait even a single second longer, grabbing from a nearby stack what I assume to be a bowl for communal use and scooping some out much like a gnoll's before me. I take a deep whiff, the steam tickling my brain as it softens my sinuses. It's too hot, but I'm hungry. But it's hot. Hunger defeats reason. A yowl escapes me, drawing further snickers from the other gnolls as they see me bested by soup that is too hot. I'm solidifying my clownish reputation here, but I don't care. I'll clown for soup. Swept up in the sweet embrace of soup, time slips away as I down bowl after bowl of the savory delight. Each pool offers new flavors and aromas. I can't help but overindulge a little. Or maybe a lot. Before long, my sloshing soup got strange under the weight of my gluttony. In the embrace of that blissful broth, I barely notice as the crowd around me migrates further into the cave, sweeping me up along with them. Beyond the initial culinary calderas, I'm greeted by a very different use case for natural hot springs. Both my bowl and loincloth are soon taken by helpful hands, and I'm left standing naked and afraid before dozens of bathing gnolls. Gnoll soup. I guess I should bathe and not just stand here, with everyone staring at me. And my junk? Looking around, there aren't a lot of vacant pools. Tav appears to be bathing with some fragrant petals, but one glance assures me that I am not welcome to join. Wrath and Nika are occupied with another. They must have arrived while I was lost to soup frenzy. Stinky invites me over with some very forward gestures. And Oppa is straight up unconscious. I should probably check on him. I splash down to join Oppa, surprised both with how perfect the water temperature seems and with how elegantly Oppa's soggy floats up in the pool's surface. Mesmerizing. Oppa? How are you doing? I give a soft jostle to rouse him, met in turn with relief as he loudly snorts himself back awake. The drowsy old-timer scratches and yawns out a half-awake inquiry. Brought me fresh meat? Oh, no. His outstretched paw comes to rest down behind me. I think you did. Stinky whistles. Okay, I think maybe you should take a break from the hot water. But I've got so much left to scrub. You wouldn't mind helping, Emilio? Fair's fair, isn't it? Who do you think kept you fed and scrubbed while you slept the days away at my place? Oh. I guess that's fair then. I shouldn't be so prudish about. Okay, he has an... Oppa! Look, miracle that it still works at my age, kid. I can't be picky about when it works. Looking around, I notice many other gnolls casually helping one another wash up, even in intimate regions. So this isn't too out of the ordinary, it seems. And the old man does have his charms. He seems to have figured out just how far he can push his luck. I can do this. It's not weird. Just don't think about the hog. Ah, magic hands, my boy. You're not helping. He taps on my back once more. Slide all the way in, boy. Gotta boil them ticks off. Wait, ticks? Of course. Think you can traipse through the forest without a few dozen tag-alongs? I submerge with extreme prejudice, quickly learning the limits of how long this body can hold its breath. When I resurface with a gasp for air, I notice Stinky looking around, scanning the room diligently. I'll let you know if he turns up, boy. Enjoy yourself. Stinky grins, declaring it Snapdragon time, and rolls from his pool to one of the larger, more occupied ones in back. This time Snapdragon appears to involve him hiding underwater and suddenly yanking people underneath. Who? Oppa silences my question with a footpaw raised up to my snout. For scrubbing. Right. Despite the dutiful ministrations that I've been tasked with, I end up feeling surprisingly relaxed and refreshed here. Sure, it's loud and hot and smelly, but it's comforting. I can see the gnolls chatting, playing, bonding. And here I am, finding comfort in the chaos. I am at soup. By the time that I'm done pampering the portly old codger, Stinky's loudly declaring himself Snapdragon champion, and returns to fetch Oppa. Hey, smoked him. Didn't even have to voke him. Right. What exactly is that? Oh, you ain't got voking in hell? Well, I'd give you a show, but I'm tapped out. Good thing too, don't want a case of the quakes while I'm in town. My lack of understanding could fill a book. But I'm sure you got plenty of stuff in hell that puts me to shame. Is it true that you've got chariots fueled by the burning blood of ancient dragons? Sure. I want to go there. He turns and catches Oppa threatening to doze off again. Alright, Oppa. Let's find us a room before it gets too dark. Oh, I hadn't considered that. Do you guys do inns, or...? Most of the places here are common houses. First come, first serve once the night can wake up and clear them out. Nightkin. Those possessed by a lesser demon that leads them to favor the night. They have difficulty with attentiveness and focus in the daytime, but many tribes value them for their keen alertness in the dark hours while others slumber. Nightkin in the Empire must struggle to suppress these tendencies, lest they draw unwanted scrutiny. Many are forced to use narcotics to suffer through the daytime hours. Knew some folks working the sewers back in the city that was defo nightkin. Tav and Gash have their own place though. They prefer their privacy. Right. I spot Tav peeling himself away from a gaggle of young women that have begun braiding his hair so that he can head for the exit. I disembark to give chase, but pause first. Thanks by the way. For earlier, I mean. I'm not good with kids. Kids are easy. You just gotta think on their level. I'm a natural. Right. Well, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Probably. I leave Oppa in Stinky's capable hands and hurry to catch up with Tav. Put a towel on. Oh, right. So, tonight? You're staying where I can keep an eye on you. He holds up his wrists, tapping the leash. And you better take good care to keep that body clean. You're just borrowing it. He hasn't given up, even after everything that's happened. Something about that makes my tail wag a little. I guess I can let myself cling to a bit of hope as well. You idiot. It's all your fault. As you run through the labyrinthian mire of sewers sprawling beneath the city, that's all you can think about. You fucked up. It's all your fault. You were in such high spirits, you'd finally scrimped and saved enough to make something nice for him. The other muckrackers, they always talked about their families too. The Porcian orc that was too bristly to pass as a proper domesticated piggy, he sang the praises of every new lover he had laid with. The mischief of the ratfolk that suffused the crew, they were always so proud of their seasonal litters. Even the Flayerkin bragged about those tadpoles. But they have the right to be here, documents and permissions and the blessings of the Emperor to scrounge the city, his city's refuse like bottom feeders. You lowered your guard, let it slip, let him slip. The supervisor, the slave driver, his ears perked up at that. He knew that you were undocumented. That's why he paid you only a quarter salary after the others had already gone. He knew how much the right pair of hands were worth to the right employer. Small hands, tender hands, hands nobody would miss. If he'd had known how young you really were, he'd have sold you for a pretty penny too, already. But you're big for your age, strong for your age, made for labors too bothersome for your betters. Just what the city needs. This accursed city, a maze for rats, choking, suffocating, binding. It's so narrow, pressing in from all sides. Your lungs burn from exertion. The vile miasma of the sewer sears your senses of smell with every sharp inhalation. You can't get sick from it, they say. You're a perfect fit for the sewers, they say. Just roll around in the muck like the mindless savage they know you to be. Bow and scrape and play the fool and hope against hope that they don't notice. But now that they've noticed, you couldn't even do that right. The city undulates around you, the slums cavorting and contorting to make you lose your way. He knows where you live. A quick tip to the wealth snatchers, a few coins in exchange, and just like that, Tav will be gone. Those vile dogs will find him. They'll drag him away to another orphanarium. They'll sell him to the highest bidder. He's too good for that. He's so sweet, so smart. He already knows more letters than you do. You can't let them take him. You can't let him go. Home, the shabby little hovel the two of you had built together, the merest resemblance of a shelter in a city that floods with indifference. You clutch that silly little thing in your paws, that thing that you spent months trying to cobble together. It was supposed to be a gift for his name day, a celebration. But now that you have to go, somewhere, anywhere but here, some place where they can't take him away from you. And then you smell them, your heart sinks. You're not alone. You were followed, you fucking fool. You turn, ready to fight, to defend him at any cost. but the titanic figure that towers before you snatches away any hope of victory. His gargantuan bulk ascends into the void of night above, without a face. His companion slithers beside you faster than you can blink. It's over. I awaken with a gasp, heart pounding in my chest, sweat pouring from my body despite the brisk chill of the arid night. Another brutal dream, a nightmare so vivid that I can't untangle it from my own memory at first. A soft sniffle perks my ears. He's hurting so bad. And that toy, it's the one that I made him. No, the one that you made him. Now it's all that he has left. I can't just let him suffer like this. But is there really anything that I can do without making it hurt even worse? Do you choose to comfort him, knowing that he's crying for the person that you, or that your body belongs to, that is most likely dead? Or do you respect his moment that he's having? That is a tough decision because it's like saying maybe he's remembering or dreaming about Gash. But then, like, if you decide to comfort him, it's like, oh, he's still here, but, like, in reality, he isn't. And maybe you have to respect this moment and let him process what's happening. Fuck it. Even if he hates me forever, I can't let this go on. I roll off the hay bed he'd sequestered me to and embrace him, pulling his tiny frame into my arms. He's so soft, so delicate. His scent is my world. I tuck my snout into the crook of his neck and can't help but cry alongside him. I'm going to fix things. I'll bring him back for you, no matter what it takes. But until then, let me share your burden. Let me ease your pain. The morning comes without another wink of sleep. How could I rest with his weight upon my heart? I can't stand this. I have to do something. I'm running, just like he did. The streets are near empty this early, but the matron's curtain is raised. You're up early, pup. I need to do something. Clarify. Anything. I can't stand feeling so useless in all of this. I want to help him so badly that I can't stand it, but I don't know how. Wrath sighs deeply, beckoning me closer until his paws touch down on my shoulders, unsteadying my ragged breaths. Why him? Because I wronged him. I took away someone so precious to him. He keeps up his line of questioning in a gentle tone, reviewing what we've already discussed to guide me. Did you mean to? No, but that's what happened. Gash is gone because of me. Do you know how to bring him back? No, but I have to find a way. And if you can't, then I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to him, to atone. Do you think that he wants that? What? Will that make him happy, to see you suffer? Who are you doing this for? Is it really for him? Or is it for you? Come here, boy. I know it's hard. Loss is always hard. But it's not something that we can make up the difference for like that. It's something that sticks with us forever. We can live through it. We can adapt. But we'll always carry that weight. Then, what can I do? You can start by taking care of yourself. Harder than it sounds at first, I know. But if you can manage that, then you can take care of others. Can't build bridges on a flimsy foundation. Myself. I'm having a hard time with that. I can tell, but I'm glad you came here. I'm glad that you feel comfortable enough to talk to me about it. And I'm glad that you're still here with us. My lips trembled. How can he be so gentle like this? I think you can get better. I think you can be a good boy. Me? Yes, you. You have the drive to make things better. You can make yourself better. You can make us better. That's what drive means here. His kindness is overwhelming. Is this what it's like to stand before a matron? So what'll it be? Are you gonna be a good boy? I mean, yeah. Yes, I'll do anything. Please. I promise, I'll get Gash back, even if it means. My heart aches at the thought. I talked a big game about wanting to stay, but if it comes down to me or Gash, who gets to stay, of course it's him, right? He plucks my chin up to lock eyes with me. No, we don't sacrifice one soldier to save another. We'll find a way to get him back, but we won't give you up to get there. After all, you're my good boy now, aren't you? I'm on the verge of tears, sniffling to hold back the extra gooey ones. Nope, here they come. He cradles my head to his chest, comforting me as I bawl my fucking eyes out. There you go. Let it all out. That's a good boy. The matron tends to me as I weep. He doesn't shy away no matter how much trauma I dump on him. He stays calm, warm. Does he do this for everyone? How can he take it all? I close my eyes and bask in his smell. His embrace wraps around me like a warm blanket. It's more complex than the others, fraught with opposing elements, old scars and new life, gunpowder and gravy. After what feels like an eternity of sobbing and what must be at least a gallon of Gnoll residue, his counsel brings me to rest at last. He even gives me a task to help give me purpose, for today at least. One day at a time, he says, one step at a time. I leave with one of the wicker baskets we'd brought with us and rough directions on some deliveries to make. In the time that I spent with the matron, it seems the bulk of the town has roused from slumber, the streets packed with a myriad of conversations, bantering, and more than a little good-spirited roughhousing. A few friendly waves and curious snouts greet me as I pass through. With most folks not having permanent abodes here, I have to ask around for at least the whereabouts to find the recipients for these parcels. It seems most folks rely on their noses to find who they're looking for around here, but seeing as I am not familiar enough yet, this might take a while. The first that I managed to find in the outer rim of the village is a plump gnoll on the shorter end, barely any taller than Tav. He is in a densely packed cluster of gnolls gathered around a lone egg sitting on the ground, cautiously observing and sniffing at it. He pulls himself away from that riveting entertainment to accept a few poorly bound books from my basket. Though his stoic, somewhat sleepy expression barely changes any, I can tell that he is a bit melancholic about the delivery. He explains that they're books on animal husbandry and farming almanacs. He can wrangle a speaker later to help him learn what's inside, but it's hard to get started without any livestock or seeds to lay the groundwork with. They've been gently encouraging that egg ever since they found it, but even the warmest of their number has yet to hatch it. It smells alive though, and it trembles now and again, so they're certain that it's been sired proper. I know that I have other deliveries to make, but this is something that I can do too. For the next few hours, we sit and pore over these books, looking over any hints on proper poultry pampering. We manage to identify the egg at last, that of a barmy dust pheasant. They bury their eggs in shallow dunes to let the warm sands heat them evenly and keep them hidden. The egg must have been left abandoned and unburied, and there's likely a great many more to be found in the dunes beyond. After a few tries to recreate those conditions, the crowd erupts into joyous excitement when a tiny beak pierces through the shell and sand, pepping up a storm. Maybe the little peeper's instincts told it to stay inside while exposed out on the surface, or maybe it just needed a firm bed of sand around it to push free of its shell instead of just wobbling around. Either way, it feels great to see them so excited over this. The next recipient I managed to track down is in the heart of the village proper, where baskets and pots build makeshift stalls while drapes run overhead to provide a bit of shade for some heated haggling. With so many gnolls in one place, the crowded streets form an ad hoc bazaar for those with goods on offer or services to render. I don't see any coins changing paws, so I imagine that they're still working on a barter system here. The gnolls I'm directed to eyes me with predatory grins, sizing me up. It takes several attempts to belay his well-practiced sales pitch and ante-upping before I get the message across that I'm here to deliver something rather than bargain. He's elated with the small satchel of delicately-looking tools I deliver, revealing that he's a dice maker by trade. And indeed, his impromptu little shop is stocked with all manner of bones to roll. He explains that the trade has been getting more and more popular as the village grows. Not only are little trinkets favored by the full-grown gnolls seeking to gamble in their downtime, but they've become a popular entertainment vector for the children too, educational even. He shows me his special dice with numbers and letters printed on them. The children make games of seeing what they can spell as they roll, usually with dirt eating as a punishment for failure. Recognizing I'm no stranger to letters myself, he quickly tries to upsell me on a full set, and it takes quite some time to pry myself away without simply breaking into a full sprint to escape. The next delivery takes me back to the hot springs, which suits me just fine, as by my reckoning it's nearly soup o'clock. The dour-looking gnolls, sipping soup from a stem, stares at me with a profound intensity as I deliver a set of very sharp needles to him. He examines the needles closely, picking at a finger to draw a droplet of blood, and nodding his head in satisfaction with the results. He explains that he is a piercer. Many of the refugees here hail from tribes that use piercing to denote their spiritual beliefs or romantic preferences. Specifically, it's common to have distinct piercings to denote funerary preferences in case you're found dead by strangers. Earth Mother adherents typically preferred earthen burial. Brood Mother faithful were to be eaten. Tide Lord disciples were to be cast into the sea, and so on. I couldn't help but ask about his own lack of piercings given his profession. He explains that his remaining ones were a bit more intimate, but he lost the ones in his ear when his son died. I realized that I should probably drop it there. My job is done. But he seems like he could use someone to talk to. I sit with him and bowl up some soup. I ask about his son. He seems surprised, but his expression softens to allow at least a hint of a smile as he reminisces. He says his son had a difficult life, born with demons that tormented him until the end. Seizures, mood swings, and so much screaming. The demons took him just before his 10th summer. Afterwards, they found a demon bulb the size of a fist in his head while cleaning his bones. So he had a tumor. But even with his demons, he still had so much joy inside of him. The piercer explains that he'll carry that smile with him, always. He then lifts his kerchief to show the fanged necklace he keeps beneath it. Oh. He goes on to explain that the boy did have his good days. He could be proper sweet, even though he never really got a grasp on words. The other kids were quite fond of him. They loved rolling bones together, so he had the dice maker make them each set from the boy's remains to remember him by. He looks a bit less grim after our chat. That felt good, I think. And finally down to the last of the deliveries. This one's a letter actually, sealed with wax and everything. I had thought Tav had handed all of those. Maybe this one got mixed into the baskets by mistake. The stamp resembled an overflowing beer stein. I suspect the golden color of the wax is meant to resemble ale to match the theme. And not pee. Even though it looks a lot like pee. The scar it's addressed to is apparently a grouchy old chimera, according to the helpful folks pointing me along his trail. Scar. Scar is a retired mercenary that used to operate out of the Empire along with his partner, Bigut. His status as a chimera made living in the Empire hard, but he managed to leverage that for significant intimidation factor. Before he found us and got us out of the city, he was working to smuggle letters and packages between the Empire and Shattertusk. But because of us, he had to give that up. He was spotted a few too many times and rearranged enough faces during our escape to garner an oppressive bounty on his head. It's okay, he taught us the ropes, so we can take over and play mailman now. Chimera. Hybrid offsprings that result from couplings between two different peoples. Chimera are exceedingly rare as interspecies reproduction is almost never viable, and the few that are born are usually riddled with mutations and very prone to ailment. Most don't survive to adulthood. Common belief holds that chimera suffer monstrous deformities and are prone to savagery the more mixed their blood becomes, as they stray from the forms first granted to us by whatever old gods elevated us from mere beasts. How come we don't call them chimeras with an S? That's weird. It doesn't take too long to find him on the outskirts of town, resting on a stone outcropping where he can stare out into the wilderness unbothered. I can feel the collar's tug starting to nag at me, so this must be near the end of my range. With just one look, I understand what they meant by chimera. He definitely doesn't look entirely Gnoll. And the glare he sends my way doesn't look like he's interested in company, so I'll try to keep the delivery brief. Scar? Letter for you? With a sigh, he holds out his hand expectingly. Oh, I guess you don't need a speaker? The harsh, deep gravel of his voice is tinged with annoyance and a bit of reptilian rasp. Good eye ain't gone out me yet. As I hand over the letter and he starts to tear it open, I cannot but feel that there is something off about him. I close my eyes and focus on his scent. It's almost becoming second nature by this point. Wait. There's nothing? He's got no scent whatsoever. It's actually kind of unsettling. And I don't remember seeing him at soup last night either. Quit giving me that look. I already told you and your little boyfriend I'm retired. My what? Simmer down there, kid. Don't take a speaker to read between the lines with you two. And that blush of yours sure ain't doing you any favors if you're trying to keep it under wraps. I sputter and recoil at the brazen assertion, a nervous cackle escaping me unbidden. Am I blushing? I think my ears are splayed, and my tail is waving anxiously. Just the thought of me and Tav. But he means Gash, so those two were even closer than I thought. The old chimera grumbles as he crumples up the letter, already having finished it during my little freakout. Drinks are on me, he says, as if I can just pop by on an afternoon stroll. I don't see his fat ass marching halfway across the realm to pay us a visit. It's the big guy. You probably figured. Got himself a new temple and fancies himself a holy man now. My ears perk. A holy man? Like the kind that can banish demons? If you can put up with his preaching, sure. He always said that he was a master of spirits. Where? We gotta go find him. Not like you get far in Imperial territory without a guide. Then show me. Now listen here, I busted my tail to get you pups out of the Empire, and now you want me to take you back? His thick reptilian tail thwarps hard against the ground, either to emphasize his point or just because he's getting riled. This is important. Simmer down, kid. The hell's gotten into you? Exactly, hell's gotten into me. You ain't making a lick of sense. Look, Scar. It's Scar, right? I don't know how you knew him, or how you haven't heard by now. Honestly, this town is rife with gossip. Out with it, kid. Gash is gone. A demon took over his body. It's me. I'm the demon. Hi, hello. Name's Emilio. Boy, you'd better quit playing games. I fall. I'm okay. Demon collar. He must have wound the leash back up. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm good down here, don't worry. I just need to find a way to banish myself back to hell so Gash can have his body back and him and Tav can get married and everything will be fine forever. So just tell me where the holy man is and I'll be out of everyone's hair. Done and done. Please say words. He soon rouses from the stunned silence, kneeling down to examine me. Gods damn. You ain't fooling around, huh? No, sir. Scar. Sir. Yeah, you sure ain't him. Thought you were talking funny. Taft stomps through the dirt furiously, following the direction the leaf dangles from his wrist like some kind of dowsing rod. What the hell are you doing out here? Mailman. I thought that I told you to stay close so that I could keep an eye on you. Can I get up now? He grunts and unwinds the leash a bit more. I breathe a sigh of relief as the rest of my body wakes back up, slowly finding my way back to my feet. Look, I'm sorry about last night, but I think that I found a solution. You're in no position to. Just listen. For once, just listen to me. I know you're hurt. I'm hurting too. This sucks for everyone. But please, just hear me out for once before you shut me down. Alright, so Scar here knows a holy man that might be able to exorcise me. You mean bigot? I suppose it might work. Scar. Look, he set up shop deep in the Empire lands. It'd take a miracle to get there without papers. Don't you make that face, kid. It's not like you can take us anyway. After all, you're retired, right? Scar, you said you got these two out of the Empire, right? So they're important to you. This might be the only chance that we have to save Gash. So please, if there's any way we can make this happen. You're serious about this? As serious as can be. Demon's honor. Fine. Let's run it by the matron. And just like that, he marches off with heavy footfalls, dragging that thick tail of his through the dust. I'm not gonna be your problem much longer. Come on, let's get this over with. Back in the village proper, my ears perk at hearing a familiar voice rising above the din of the crowd, and we soon stumbled upon Opa performing a story recitation beneath the merciful shade of an awning. Before I know it, I'm getting swept up in the tail end of the tale about the dangers of snapdragons. Taff keeps walking and I can feel the collars tug, but the way Opa speak commands such gravitas that I can feel the need to stop and listen anyway. And it seems like I'm not the only one. He's got the younger children enraptured as well. Also Stinky. He's got no less than 3 of the little buggers crawling over him for the best seats in the house to hear Opa's storytelling. Most of the older gnolls don't look nearly as enthused, but are happy to bask in the shade's caress at the very least. And his story wraps up. He motions to retire from the recitation, but the children's pleading soon convince him to stay for just one more. With my recent arrival in town apparently still on their minds, their cheers soon turn to demands for a story about demons. Demons? Big, scary, creepy, crawly, sinful, salacious demons? The cheering reaches a crescendo. The old man knows how to play to a crowd. Then how about the tale of the good demon? Taff stops dead in his tracks as he hears that, returning to my side to listen. I haven't heard this one. As Opa sets the scene with a vivid depiction of a mad mage's sanctum in the heart of the Empire, gesticulating wildly to sell the spectacle of his story, Taff snags the journal back from me and inks up his claw to begin recording every word. But the mad mage, Fistandatalus, vile valker that he was, didn't know what he'd bargained for when he called the demon to occupy his own body. He thought that he could sequester it away in his oh-so-brilliant mind to command his powers without losing himself to the demon's influence. But once the summoning was complete, he grew not muscles to enhance his diminutive form, nor the wicked claws, horns, or fangs he envied in his peers. Instead, he grew the most dreadful thing of all, dear boys and girls. He pauses for dramatic effect. A conscience. Audible gasps echo through the audience, Stinky's is particularly loud. The power-hungry mage had summoned himself not a sinful conspirator or fiendish brute, but an honest-to-goodness good demon. The poor demon was trapped indeed, languishing in old Fisty's head for months after this failed summoning. It admonished him for every vile experiment he conducted, rebuked him for the cruel treatment of his familiars, and even scolded him when he failed to bathe. At least, he could suffer no more of his nagging reproach. He wouldn't let some lowly demon tell him what to do. So he forged a baleful gem to seal the demon within, cackling with glee as it begged for mercy. But the mad mage knew no mercy, and so brought his staff thundering down upon the ritual circle to cast the demon out once and for all. But the demons aren't dealt with so easily, my friends. When the mad mage awoke, he found no breath with which to scream, nor maw to curse the fate that had befallen him. He had trapped himself within the gem. The demon's scheme proved fruitful at last. It had studied his secrets and learned quickly, sabotaging his ritual at the last moment to curse him with the very prison that he sought to sequester it in. Free at last, the demon took his body for itself. And do you know what it did with the body? He pauses once more to spur audience interaction before continuing. The demon became a champion of justice, righting wrongs and vanquishing villains across the empire. So if even a demon can be good, what excuse do you little whelps have? The old Gnoll's teasing remarks draw a wave of giggles from the little ones. As Opal wraps up and the crowd starts to disperse, I return my gaze to Tav and see him looking at the journal fondly. The story proved a nice change of pace after that heated discussion outside the village. Even Tav can't help but smile a little as he puts the finishing touches on the entry. But part of me wonders why Opal decided to tell that particular story. You don't think that he made that up just because of me, do you? I don't think so. That sounded practiced, like he's told it plenty of times before. I peek closer to see what he's writing. It looks like he managed to capture every word, even with the brisk pace Opal spoke at. That's really impressive, actually. Do you always record his stories? He passes the book back to me, avoiding my gaze. When I can. Storytelling is historically an oral tradition for the Gnolls. But if nobody writes it down, it might get forgotten someday. And that's just so sad. To think that after you're gone, nobody will remember who you were, or what you did. Your legacy just vanishes. Here comes that feeling again. I just can't stand to see him spiral like this. I know I'm not responsible for cheering him up, but I dig deep anyway, searching my memory for a less gloomy paradigm to parrot. I like to imagine that even after they're gone, the people whose lives you touch will carry on your legacy. And when they're all dead too? Think. Well, I suppose it's like a pebble in the pond, isn't it? The kindness that you drop in the water influences the people around you to be more kind in turn, and that keeps rippling outwards. Eventually, you can't even see the ripples anymore, but the pond itself stands higher overall. You never know. That kind of legacy might end up being even more impactful than whatever written records managed to survive the ages. You know, I'd rather make the world a little bit kinder instead of being remembered forever as the guy who sold shitty copper or something. Well, I'm still gonna write down as much as I can, but that's a really nice thought, actually. It reminds me of some of the philosophy books Gash used to read to me. Oh, was he a big reader too? He's the one that taught me. Fought Tusk and clawed his sneak discarded books back to me when he worked as a trash picker. Really? I guess he was smarter than I realized. Yeah, I just wish that he realized that himself. You made it! I was worried that you missed story time. Kinda got caught up in it by surprise, actually. We were about to go to the matron's hut with Scar. Scar? He's here? Oh yeah, I guess he must have gone ahead of us to see the matron. Stinky bolted in that direction without another word. Well, this is going to be a mess. We arrived to find the partition drawn shut with Nika standing guard to keep Stinky out from behind it. Calm yourself, boy. Day won't be long. But It's been so long. Will he even recognize me? I'm sure that he can already smell you. Shroud doesn't block that. This boy be testing my one and only nerve. Stinky, let's help out with some poultice prep. But I'm sure Nika could use the help with your medicine anyway. After some time spent crushing up dried nettles and making paste from death root, the curtain finally opens. Some tension hangs in the air as the two older gnolls join us from behind the curtain. You've been busy, pup. Oh, yeah, delivery's taken care of. Mailman. Only been here a day and already you've hatched a scheme to get yourself exercised. Oh, yeah, that too. Now my first instinct, and forgive my mistrustful nature, is that a sudden plan to take a handful of my good boys back into the Wombwood with you smells like a goddamn trap. The Wombwood? Oh, yeah, I guess that's the only way back to the Empire. But I reckon I should practice it a bit more of what I preach and give you a chance to prove yourself. So, you mean... If Tav's willing to accompany you, of course, leash and all. But I ain't gonna force you, none of you. This needs to be something all three of you want to partake in. Of course, if Scar is willing to show us the way. I know I'm asking a lot. It's not like I'm of any use farting away my golden years in this place. Scar... Besides, the two of you wouldn't make it far into the Imperial territory without getting your hides tanned. And the big oaf's been begging me to come visit anyway. And you're sure you want to go back there? Fuck no. But I made that kid a promise, and I intend to keep it. So we're really doing this then? We'll have to be extremely careful. Normally if we bump into brood witches, we can just drop everything and run. But if they catch wind that I'm there, they'll hunt us down with everything that they've got. At least the forest still lets you in. The land itself rebels against my presence. Yeah, they're still mad about all the blasphemies. They can die mad. I can't hardly believe how fast things are moving. I was starting to think that I'd have to spend months, maybe even years here before an opportunity like this came along. I can feel that familiar pang of remorse squelching in my gut, but I'm getting better at ignoring it. Yeah, I don't want to leave. I'm getting sick of hearing myself think that. I've got to step up and take responsibility to fix this. And I might never get another chance like this. I'm drawn from my thoughts when Scar claps upon my shoulder. Look, I'm on board with this for Tav and Gash, but I gotta know I can trust you too. Yeah, I know it must be hard to trust a demon. Look, in my experience, demons ain't all the Empire makes them out to be. Most of the ones that I've met are just scared shitless. They don't know the first thing about this world, except that all the Imperials want them burnt at the stake. Sure, if they got rich families, the Empire will hook them up with treatments to cure them. But whatever that entails can't be good. Leaves them quiet, docile shells afterwards, if not a drooling invalid outright. And I ain't gonna let none of you kids end up that way. I'm not gonna let that happen either. Gash deserves his life back, and I'm gonna make sure that happens. No matter what. Well, alright. You got hellfire in your eyes, Emilio. But it sounds like I can't count on you in a scrape with that collar on. Yeah. If we're quick and quiet, we won't need to do any fighting. Shouldn't be too hard to lay low with just the three of us. Hey? Hey kid. I, heard you were in town? And... well, I was hoping that we could catch up. Scar, come on. No, it's okay. Kid, you're grown now. You got your own life. You don't need me around to mess it up. Well, then in that case, I'm coming too. You're what now? Look, you know about living in the Wombwood for years now. I know my way around it even better than you do. And if push does come to shove, you'll want to have a Valker on your side, right? No way in hell. He does have a point. Earth Mother's blessings could really come in handy down there, and on the other side too. Plus, it's not like 4 is much harder to hide than 3. Look, I ain't gonna put an untrained kid in harm's way like that. I'm not a kid anymore. It's not any different from us going. Well, who's gonna look after Opa? Nika offered. She said that she'd put him to work on poultices. Says that it'll be good to keep his mind active at that age. Fine. Ain't my problem anymore. You're free to do whatever you want. I'll go tell Opa. So that was family stuff. Makes me glad that I'm an orphan. Really? No. Hey, Gash is your family, and he'll be back real soon. Yeah. Wanna go get soup? Yeah. I didn't get to spend much time in Shattertusk after all. But I'm glad that there was soup. End of chapter 2. More to come soon. Patreon. So that was... I'm fairly certain that we will not be exiting Gash anytime soon. I'm fairly certain that Gash is dead. Because, what was it, the matron had said that when people are dying, like their death wails, it attracts the demons. And the demon basically takes over the body at that point, if they are able to. So my guess is that Gash died. Something happened and Gash died. It would be interesting to see what happens, actually. Like, what was it that led to that point? But yeah. Every single time that I see the background, I think like, oh, that looks kind of like Utah or Nevada or some desert area around where I live. Anyways, but yeah, so... yeah. Also, it is worth noting that as with some hyenas, specifically like the spotted hyenas, and I guess with some gnolls, that gender is sort of like it's whatever you want it to be. So obviously the matron looks female but presents as a male, but they're fine with either or pronouns. Then there's Stinky, who looks female but also is presented as a male. So yeah, for some people that are going like, why is that a masculine voice on a clearly female looking body? Because they're saying that it's a gruff, like that type of voice, and they're referring to them as he. So, you know, it's a gnoll thing, it's a hyena thing. Like literally, if you were to this is a little weird, but like if you were to like Google the female hyenas, you might find something extra that probably wouldn't normally be there with other species. But yeah. Anywho, so it is nice to have this story back up again because, you know, gnolls that are vaguely hyena-ish. There's spotted gnolls, there's striped gnolls, there's gnolls of all sizes. But yeah, anywho, and Tav, who is a dead ringer for my persona. It's just that he's like shorter. But yeah, anyway. Also, kind of cool to see hybrids. And since I believe that Gnoll Way Home is derived from a D&D campaign that the writer and Dead Stray Bear, who is doing most of like the artwork, were involved in, it's kind of nice to see that they like they took that campaign and turned it into a story, which also means that basically that the story is already there. It needs to be written out for visual novel, I guess you could say, which one of my friends and his friends could probably take like some notes on, because they also have a D&D campaign that they want to turn into a visual novel called I don't know if it's Las Crónicas de Noira or something like that, but they always shortened it to Noira or Noira or Noire. Noira. Anyways, something like that. But they basically have like a whole giant campaign that they want to turn into a visual novel. But stuff is happening. Anyways, but yeah, so it's kind of cool. I'm hoping or that the next updates will be a little bit faster, because of what, like, this was last year, wasn't it, when I read this? Or was it at the beginning of the year? I don't remember, but it was a while. It was a long while. Tav. Can you take off his coat? Yeah, you can. But yeah, this guy is basically my persona. You need to dye the mane and his hair green, and that's basically my persona right there. This Opa, Stinky, Gash. This is what the MC looks like. I already forgot your name. Actually, I really like their design. This one, Scar. He reminds me of someone else's persona, though, who was like a hyena, like crocodile mix. They kind of look like a dinosaur too, but yeah. Then some of the other side characters, mystery side characters that I can't click on. Backgrounds, movies. Movies? Was this a movie? Dead Stray Bear, Dead Stray Bear, Dead Stray Bear, Dead Stray Bear. And he's basically the artist. But yeah, poor Tav. Music. Anyways, so write down in the comments what you think. And thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Gnoll Way Home yourself or stay up to date with whatever's going on with it, you could do so by going down into the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the itch.io page. And considering what's going on with Twitter nowadays, I'll probably also be posting or making sure to also include the Blue Sky pages. And that's basically where all the furries are migrating to nowadays. Anyways, and it's cool because you can curate it yourself, so anybody you follow will only be the people that appear on your feed. Nobody, no extra, no ads, no nothing else will be appearing. But there is like your friends also like this section. So whatever the people that you are following are also like liking and favoriting and whatever will be on that section. So it's a very curated place right now, which is very good, especially if you're just following people for the art and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, so I'll be posting down those links and their Patreon, because of course they said they have one, which I'm assuming will have early access to builds of Gnoll Way Home or any other little things that they might offer. Maybe some works in progresses, some other stuff, I don't know. But yeah, I'll be posting those links down along with my links for Ko-fi and all the other stuff in case you want to like subscribe to the channel for like the channel members or whatever, you know, it's all down there in the description. Anyways, but yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.